Arizona breathes a small part of election news and all of social media. well, at least the ones over on Twitter, all retreat into their respective narratives, and we still have no idea what's going on. But we'll talk just a bit about some of the things that have led up to this point. The U.S. Coast Guard has warned Floridians against boating back to Cuba to give supplies to Cubans because, hey, giving supplies to people in need, that's the government's job. I will not curse before the title card, but I was really close right there. Angela Merkel meets with Joe Biden as floods start going in the plain of Germany. I don't think they're related, but I think it's just kind of funny that all this starts while she's over in the United States. So we'll talk a bit about that. And police are investigating a DoorDash driver putting an organ of his own into somebody's burrito bowl. It's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. Hey, 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 do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Well, happy Friday. It's been a while since we've been here over on a Friday, and I've got the chance to sit down and personally thank everybody who chatted in the live chat. It's been a couple weeks. I actually didn't even consider to go and start writing people's names down throughout the week here, so I'm sitting here with the analytics over on Restream and actually going and pausing through my video from Tuesday when we couldn't have the Restream back up, just to make sure that we have the names of everybody here, because everybody who comes in and chats in that live chat deserves a nice thank you. And by the way, thanks to everybody else who also chatted in the live chat throughout the week last week. I know I saw you guys because I watched every single episode last week, and you guys all rock. Unfortunately, I don't have the names written down of everybody throughout the last week, but I do have ones from this past week here, the one we're just finishing up right now, and we'll all get a special thank you. Plus, make sure you get those last-minute messages in the live chat, because I will be going through some of the live chat today as well. And remember, if your message is sufficiently stupid or bigoted, it will raise the intellectual level of this program, and it will get read on air. So make sure you guys get into that. Also, while we're cleaning stuff up, make sure you guys go over and check out my friends who will be joining me in an upcoming project coming up here in the next few months as we move forward and we try to get representation for people who really, really need it. But while we're getting there, while we're constructing that, make sure you go and check out my friends: The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, and The Freckles and Brit Show. Go bookmark and check out all those great shows. They're all great shows. They're all great people. Go and check them out. I promise you, you'll have a great time, especially on The Daily Ignoramus, because we will most likely be rating them at the end. So if you're over on Twitch, stick around and come and hang out with us as we go over to that show as well. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. So go and check that out and help me support great creators. Oh, excuse me. A little bit of a cough there, a little bit of a low energy here. I hope that we get some higher energy up here. I just pumped myself full of a bunch of Oreos to see if the sugar helps perk me up a little bit here. The best kind, caramel coconut. The very, very best kind. But yeah, I got a little bit of F's in the chat for you guys here over from something that happened this past week. We lost one of our delivery drivers, or, well, over at work, I should say. He's still with us, but yeah, he went out, he was driving home, and he had apparently some major seizures, which in Wisconsin, if you have a seizure, you don't have a driver's license for 6 months. Now, said coworker is a resident of Illinois, so that's going to be a little bit different, and it looks like he might be able to, well, I'm not sure how the laws all work, but it looks like it might be a little bit better off for him in a shorter amount of time than if he was a Wisconsin resident, so that's going to be good. But yeah, he was one of the hardest working people I knew, and I am picking up the slack for him right now. And yeah, it took a toll. I wasn't prepared for it. Like, if I'd have been prepared for it, like if I'd have got a 2 weeks notice, I probably would be sleeping better, but just this week has just taken its toll on me too. So that's why we've had so many late starts here. That's why I've been so low energy for the past couple weeks. But the news stops for nobody, and we still need to get through. And I did make the promise that you guys would have content every weekday morning for Contemporary, even if it's a holiday. So let's get through this here. Looking in at your finance, the Dow wound up being up. It had a massive drop at the beginning, but it wound up being up here, ending the day at 34,987.02. So just a slight a bit. It didn't make 1% up. It made 1% down at some point, but didn't make 1% up. So that's what we saw coming in through your Dow for the day. Your Bitcoin had a mild drop once again. We're edging closer to that 30,000 mark, and I think that's where it's going to stay for quite a while at this point, until we get some more inflationary stuff, or some enigmatic South African business billionaire comes out and says to the moon or something else, or talks about buying cars with Bitcoin or something. So I think that's where it's going to stay for a little bit. We will continue to watch this as it goes and see where it goes from there. On your fuel in Madison, Wisconsin, we are holding steady at the 279 mark. But I think that's going to be going up in the Madison area pretty soon because, my local station down here is right on the edge of pushing over $3 a gallon. With me, with a 30-gallon tank. Yeah, how do you think that makes me feel? Thanks, Biden! So, and that's going to affect the prices of consumer goods too as we go along. So that's something we're going to have to pay attention to as we get closer and closer and closer, and sometimes over that $3 a gallon mark. Let's look in with Investors Business Daily for the morning. Dow futures rise after Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia add to market rally weakness. Elon Musk says this is about Tesla Cybertruck. Where is my live chat? Why can I not see what you guys are doing over here? Let's get that fixed because we got to see what's going on. Looks like we've got Chilago over there, but other than that, nobody's talking here. Let's get everybody else back in here. Am I on YouTube? I should be on YouTube. Yeah, it says I'm live over there. I'm not getting any of the advertisements for the YouTube side either. So maybe the Nightbot broke down over on the YouTube side. Anyway, yeah, we're over there. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on DLive. We are on Trovo. We are on Facebook. So go and check us out in any of those platforms here. But let's get into the news. All right. Dow Jones futures rise after Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia add to market rally weakness. Elon Musk says this is about Tesla Cybertruck. From Ed Carson. Dow Jones futures rose slightly Friday morning, along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures. Moderna was an early leader, while Intel is eyeing a major acquisition. The stock market rally was mixed Thursday as tech giants Apple stock, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google parent Alphabet all fell slightly, no longer covering up deteriorating conditions among many leaders. In addition to the trillion-dollar quartet, Facebook also dipped while big caps Nvidia and ASML, that's not ASMR, and many other chip stocks fell solidly in the wake of so-so earnings from Taiwan Semiconductor. Software slumped while the former leaders had rebounded for several weeks. Continuing their July retreats, apparel retailers suffered some chart damage, although Lululemon looks strong. Yeah. Well, we're going to go close down, so all the girls out there are going to start wearing yoga pants. Plus, we all got to go back to the gym again because people are starting to look back and see what their waistline looked like after all that time of lockdown. So, yeah, I can see where that's coming back here. Tesla edged lower Thursday, but rallied off its 200-day line. Tesla CEO Elon Musk tweeted that there is some chance that Cybertruck will flop. Really? I mean, I like trucks, but you wouldn't catch me dead driving that fucking thing. Especially since Ford is coming out here and making their own electric vehicle. The stock market rally came off Thursday's lows, but still seems troubled. The major indices are just below record highs. While small caps continue to retreat, market breadth has narrowed. Most of all, for active investors, recent breakouts and other buying opportunities have struggled or failed. Still, United Health, Morgan Stanley, Marvel, Parcel Service, not Postal Service. The United Postal Service is as divided as ever and is run by the government. But the United Parcel Service and CarMax are all setting up near buy points. CarMax? Really? People still buy from that? Dude, CarMax, if you can avoid going to CarMax, like if you're hard up for a car and they've got the one and they can finance you, go there, but If you can avoid it, don't go to CarMax. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. I've seen some of their internal stuff. Dow Jones Giant, United Health, and Morgan Stanley just reported earnings Thursday, while Marvel and CarMax are several weeks from their next quarterly results. UPS stock is on tap in less than 2 weeks, though, with the exception of chipmaker Marvel. These names are outside the tech space. Before the open, Moderna jumped 8% on news that the coronavirus vaccine maker will join the S&P 500 index before the open on July 21st. Oh, I didn't know that they weren't on any of the major indices. No, I take that back. I think I knew they were on the Dow, but hey, now they're going to go join another major index. Weird. It's almost like they made a massive amount of profit, and now they get to go join into some other major financial institution. Intel is in talks to buy Global Foundries for about $30 billion. The Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday, citing sources, that would speed up Intel's ambitions to be a major chipmaker for others taking on Taiwan Semiconductor. U.S.-based Global Foundries is owned by Abu Dhabi's investment arm. Intel stock and TSM stock rose slightly before the open. Chinese regulators from 7 departments visited DiDi Global headquarters as part of an ongoing security review following the ride-hailing giant's recent U.S. IPO. DiDi stock fell before the open. Meanwhile, China plans to exempt companies from going public from cybersecurity rules if they list in Hong Kong. Bloomberg reported, giving a big incentive for the tech and data-centric companies to go public in the Chinese markets, not the U.S. Tesla, Microsoft, Nvidia, ASML, and Google stock are on the IBD leaderboard. Microsoft and Google are also on the IBD long-term leaders. Nvidia and Google are on the IBD 50. Marvell stock was Thursday's IBD stock of the day. So that's where you need to look for if you want to put some money into these markets. I would not do that right now, but that's not official financial advice. Always conduct and talk to a official, licensed, and bonded financier before you get into the stock market. On the futures, Dow futures rose about 0.1% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.1%, and NASDAQ 100 futures were up 0.2%. The 10-year Treasury yield rose 2 basis points to 1.32. I still call that bullshit. Bitcoin fell to slightly above 31,000, towards the lower end of a range going back to late May. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Let's grab one from our buddy Ron Helton, who's in the chat every day. Let's go grab one from his favorite outlet, Bloomberg, coming from his favorite politician. U.S. stock futures advance with earnings in focus, markets wrap. From Srinivasan Sivabalan. U.S. stock index futures rose with Treasury yields as investors assessed the earnings upshot of economic reopening and the outlook for Federal Reserve support in the face of high inflation. September contracts on the Russell 2000 index and the S&P 500 index futures advanced to at least 0.2%. Moderna jumped in pre-market trading after the vaccine maker was named to the U.S. equity benchmark. The 10-year Treasury yield paired its third weekly decline. Bitcoin, grinding lower for a second day, traded a touch over $31,000 apiece. Investors turned their attention to corporate earnings with optimism over resurgent consumer demand tempered by the spread of the coronavirus Delta variant. The outlook for stock was held up by repeated assurances from Fed Chair Jerome Powell that the post-lockdown surge in inflation didn't yet warrant a tapering of stimulus. At least for the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to be living in a period of heightened inflation pressures. Sean Darby, a global equity strategist at Jefferies, said on Bloomberg Television, "The good news is, at least for the next 12 months, I don't think the profit cycle is going to pull the rug from under the feet of equity investors. It's still a reasonable environment for equity markets to outperform other asset classes." Powell defended the central bank's accommodative stance for the second time in 2 days in his testimonies to lawmakers. The Fed's stance underscores a growing divergence among global central banks on their response to growing price pressures. Policymakers from New Zealand to Canada and the UK are turning hawkish, making investors wonder how long could the Fed afford to remain dovish. Well, not long. I don't think they're going to make it to the midterms. I really don't. They're going to try to grind this out so they don't have to raise interest rates and pull the rug out from the feet of homeowners and people who are depending on that mortgage or trying to get a new mortgage. They're going to wait until after the midterms to do that, to see how this all goes. I don't think they can ride it that long. I think we're going to have a big problem by the end of this year if we keep seeing 5%, 5.5%, 5.6% inflation as we go. So that's what we see coming up off the markets here. Let's start getting into the big news of the day, starting with a couple from over in Arizona. First, the Arizona Republican Party tweeting out today, breaking Arizona audit meeting at Arizona State Senate reveals Maricopa County still has not provided many materials for complete audit, including routers, chain of custody, and images of mail-in ballots. Why are my DMs open? So that's the first thing that came off of this, and as soon as we saw this, almost everybody over on the twat toilet retreated into their own narratives. The lefts and progressives say, "Oh, see, all this money was wasted. They didn't find anything wrong. They're holding this out at this point. There's nothing wrong here." And there was even a screen shot that I took from over in the trending corner that said, "The USA Today, factcheck.org, Huffington Post," and a lot of major left-wing outlets say, show that there was no election fraud whatsoever in all this. Well, thanks, but I'd like to see the results from the auditors, not from you. And as far as I know, those are not back out yet. And we even see just a bunch of the people here that they're the reply guys for the Arizona Republican Party, David Lane's, because the audit was a fraud, start to finish. Funny how this wasn't mentioned until you finished the count. It didn't like it. Now you want to prolong it, hoping to make up some more nonsense. We still haven't found the fraud. It just has to be here. Fucking reply, guys. Let's get this all finished up here. Let's figure out what's going on. And once again, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but as I always say, no matter what it is that they find, it's not going to change the result of 2020. As soon as Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. put his liver-spotted hand on the Bible and said, "Hey, go, Jill, what was I supposed to say? Oh, yeah, I, Joseph Robinette Biden. Hey, am I senior or junior? Junior? Okay. I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. do solemnly swear to, man, come on, and uphold the thing, man. So help me. You know, that guy." As soon as that happened, no matter what happens from any of these audits, any of these recounts, any of these lawsuits, anything else, nothing is going to change the fact that Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is the president until he kicks off in fucking office, or he gets voted out in 2024 or 2028, whichever comes first. And right now, given the fact that Hong Kong, these elections are fortified, Hong Kong, given the fact that he's almost 80 years old and has had several aneurysms, but also given the fact that he's wildly unpopular right now, any one of those three things is in play as to which takes his crippled ass out first. But yes, this was the point where everybody retreated back into their narratives. We still don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's actually happening here right now, except for cyber ninjas. And that's actually about it. Nobody else knows what's going on with this. But that doesn't stop the world from leading into their narratives. All right, I've got another one here. Cyrus A. Parsa, the AI organization, says breaking election evidence. Maricopa County, 74,000 missing ballots. Let's listen to what they had to say over here.
Talked about how do we verify that, and there was a question about canvassing. Department of Justice sent us a letter about 4 or 6 weeks ago and said, we're concerned about you actually knocking on doors that you might be voter intimidation or civil rights violation or something, which I find is interesting after the White House last week said we're going to knock on doors to see whether you're vaccinated or not. But that's a side point.
Based on the data we're seeing, I highly recommend we do the canvassing because it's the one way to know for sure whether some of the data we're seeing, if it's real problems or whether it's clerical errors of some sort. So, for example, we have 74,243 mail-in ballots where there is no clear record of them being sent.
And I had talked about how do we verify that, and there was a question about canvassing. Department of Justice sent us a letter about...
All right, so that's what we're seeing here, and I've got an article on that one too. Dude, don't go fucking door to door. Seriously, we just got done castigating Democrats for their vaccine outreach. Don't start going door to door without a fucking warrant, you dumb bastards. All right, let's see what the news has to say about this, though. Starting with Yahoo News, coming from the Washington Examiner. Judge rejects Arizona Senate's bid to dismiss lawsuit seeking Maricopa audit records. From Kalen Deese. A judge rejected the Arizona Senate's motion to dismiss a lawsuit seeking the disclosure of records related to its 2020 election audit in Maricopa County. American Oversight, a left-leaning watchdog group, filed the lawsuit seeking to force compliance with Arizona's public records law. But attorneys for the GOP-led Arizona Senate argued that the various documents and donor information sought in the case are not subject to public disclosure rules because they're held by Cyber Ninjas, a private firm based in Florida, and its subcontractors. Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Michael Kemp said in his ruling on Thursday, which preceded an Arizona Senate hearing on the audit's progress, that he completely rejects the arguments presented by the defendant's attorneys. Nothing in the statute absolves the Senate defendant's responsibilities to keep and maintain records for authorities supported by public monies by merely retaining a third-party contractor who in turn hires sub-vendors, Kemp wrote. The judge said that allowing documents... Show me the documents! The documents! Come on, show me the documents! To the audit to remain undisclosed would be an absurd result of, and undermine Arizona's strong public policy in favor of permitting access to records reflecting governmental activity. Okay. This is looking a little bit sus to me. Now, and I still want to go and see what happens from this audit, but, I mean, you keep telling me that there's nothing in these records that could potentially dox somebody, that could potentially be records coming out about some of the voters, but you won't turn over the records because you're afraid of doxing somebody or turning over the records. I have questions. I have a lot of questions. It's not enough questions to stop this farce, but if you can't turn that over, I have a lot of questions over what's going on here. So far, the Arizona Senate has disclosed that it agreed to pay Cyber Ninjas $150,000 for a portion of the audit's cost. The rest has been raised by donors. OANN anchor Christina Bobb is helping to raise funds through a nonprofit group, Voices and Votes, while covering the review as a reporter. And that might be a conflict of interest, too. Kemp argued that it is irrelevant if the Arizona Senate does not have audit information that is in the hands of Cyber Ninjas, saying they must demand these records from a private firm he said is contractually obligated to fully cooperate with the Senate by providing the information or documents. Show me the documents! The judge said the audit information is covered under Arizona's public records law because Arizona Senate President Karen Fann has stated that the audit is a public function. That's fair. Kemp also rejected the Arizona Senate's motion to consolidate American Oversight's lawsuit with another public records lawsuit brought by the Arizona Republic. Starting now, the Arizona Senate is going to face the real public accountability, said Austin Evers, American Oversight's executive director. For months, the public has been asked to trust the word of senators about the sham audit of the 2020 election. See, when you editorialize this like this, that also goes back and makes me question your motives. Now, if you'd have come out and said, for months, the public of this country, and especially the people of Arizona, have demanded accountability for what's going on in Arizona, I said, okay, Well, you have a fair point. Let's talk about this. But because you have to put that editorialization in here, well, the public just wants to know what's going on with this sham audit. You don't have the best intentions in mind. Optics matter, dude. And the fact that you're running in and leading in right away to say that this is just some sham audit tells me that you don't have the best intentions in mind. It's terrible optics that you're trying to hide something. Let's see, where was I? The ruling makes clear that the Senate must immediately begin releasing records to the public. The Arizona Senate's defense team is considering appellate options, but no determinations have been made yet, Attorney Corey Langhofer told the Washington Examiner. Critics of the audit say the results from the 2 previous election machine audits conducted for the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors showed no irregularities in the county's 2020 election. The mostly Republican Maricopa County Board of Supervisors and the Democratic Secretary of State Katie Hobbs have raised repeated concerns about the audit. So that's what they're telling us is going on here. I've got a lot of questions, and I've got a lot of questions for both sides of this argument. But for the most part, it seems that everybody's just retreated into their narratives. These Austin Evers guys, oh, this is just a sham thing. And the right, the Charlie Kirks of the world. Oh, see, we found all these votes over here. There's so much counting over here. We got to keep counting them. We got to keep counting. Let the people do their job, what they're getting paid for, and let's find out what's going on at the end. Stop going into your narratives because you don't know what's happening there. I promise you. I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on. You don't know what's happening there. You don't. It's just, there hasn't been enough information released that you know what's going on there. You can listen to the talking points of your favorite partisan news source, but you don't know what's happening. All right, I've got one archived here from AZ Central talking a little bit more about this. State Senate to seek more election material from Maricopa County. Door-to-door questioning recommended. Don't fucking do that. Don't do that. Those of us who are liberty-minded, and I'm not going to talk for the GOP on this one because they're not liberty-minded, but those of us who are liberty-minded just got done castigating the left for their door-to-door vaccine outreach. Don't do this unless you have a warrant. Seriously. If you want to undermine everything you're trying to do here, then do this, but that's all it's going to do. Be consistent, because you guys were also castigating the left for their door-to-door vaccine outreach. This is from Andrew Oxford and Mary Jo Pitzel. Senate President Karen Fann said the legislature needs more materials and data from Maricopa County for an unprecedented and controversial review of the 2020 election results that is deep into its 3rd month. Fann said at a hearing at the Capitol on Thursday that efforts to obtain those items would likely end up in a courtroom. Also during the hearing, the Senate's top contractor on the review recommended reviving plans to go door-to-door to inquire about some residents' participation in last year's general election. Dude, don't do that. You're not going to like how that ends. I promise you, especially in Arizona. The Senate had just put an effort to dispatch canvassers on hold after the U.S. Department of Justice raised concerns that it could amount to voter intimidation and violate federal civil rights protections. See? You get it. I don't think it violates federal civil rights protections, but voter intimidation? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And once again, just like I talked about in the last article, the optics are everything here. But Cyber Ninja CEO Doug Logan, head of the Florida-based firm, the Senate has hired to lead the audit and encourage lawmakers to proceed with that plan. Based on the data we're seeing, I highly recommend we do the canvassing because it's the one way to know for sure whether the data we're seeing are real problems, Logan said. Wanna bet? Doing both a canvass of voters and taking the county back to court means the review effort that appeared to be wrapping up is likely to last even longer. Initially, the review was slated to end in May. Fan previously had suggested a final report could be out by next month, but on Thursday she indicated that probably won't happen. We need to get the additional information because how do you do a final report if you don't have all the information, she said. Senator Warren Peterson, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, was pessimistic. If we don't get the information, it will be an incomplete report and incomplete audit, Peterson of Gilbert said. Logan also raised several issues that Republican lawmakers have questioned for months, as some argued to overturn the state's presidential election results. He noted concerns about ink bleeding through on ballots, a controversy that flared around Election Day after the county provided voters with felt-tipped markers at polling places. The marks that voters made bled through the opposite side of the ballots, but county officials noted that the columns on each side were not aligned to ensure that did not affect how votes were counted. Still, more than 2 months after the county delivered about 2.1 million ballots to cyber ninjas, pursuant to a Senate subpoena, Logan said more analysis is needed on that issue. County officials have encountered the Senate's contractors simply are not qualified and do not understand the state's election processes. Meanwhile, Logan outlined, the people who are hiring them and give them a rundown and all the legal material out there that they can read to make sure that all this is going above board. We have that information. Meanwhile, Logan outlined a list of additional materials he argued the Senate should obtain from the county, including computer network routers. The county has refused to provide its routers, saying it would create a security risk, and that it does not use the internet or routers to transfer election data during elections. Well, something's got to get everything counted from every machine back into the central computer. Something's got to connect them up to the central computer that counts all these things. Usually that's a router or some kind of switch. So why not turn them over? Furthermore, why is this? And this is the question I have. If these machines are unhackable and the system that we have, elections are unhackable. That's what we've been hearing since November 4th. These elections, every part of this election is completely unhackable. So why would it matter if you turned over the router? Look, at this point, I don't know where I sit on this one. Because both sides have been eagerly just as shady. I don't believe, I do believe. I believe that Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., Hong Kong, won the Hong Kong election. Hong Kong completely fairly. Hong Kong with more votes than Barack Obama even got. Hong Kong. I believe that. Completely. Don't ban me, Susan. But in a simulation, in a video game, I do see instances in this mass simulation out there where we might actually see some issues coming on with the election, but not in real life, of course, because Biden is the most popular president in U.S. history. More votes than Barack Obama, Hong Kong. But that's what we see going on with that right now. Let's grab one more here from Arizona. Then we'll move into some Cuba stuff. Arizona state senator calls for new election, says Biden electors must be recalled. Dude, you are way too late for that. You're like 7 months too late for that. And I double-checked to make sure that this was a current article. I double-checked the date because I thought, when I saw that, the first thing I thought was, they're just slipping me in something from December of last year. Nope. This is by Cami Pedroja on, yesterday at 5:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Arizona Republican Senator Wendy Rogers is calling for a new 2020 presidential election in her state, demanding officials decertify the election that took place in November. It's not going to change anything. You can't. There's no constitutional path for you to go back and change who is the president of the United States. You can decertify that. You can come out and tear that election certification up. You can tear it in half. And you can do so in Pennsylvania. You can do that in all 50 states. say, all 50 states come together and say, we see enough evidence that we can decertify this election comfortably. And Joe Biden will still be the president once you're all done. Focus on figuring out where you shored up, where you can shore up, and what went wrong in this election. If you think something went wrong, even though nothing bad happened in the 2020 election, honk honk, and Biden is the most popular president in history, honk honk, find where the problems were, pass legislation to shore them up, and focus on 2022 and 2024. Stop focusing on 2020 except for finding where the errors are if you think that there were, even though there were not, honk honk. But regardless, that's what I see coming back out of that. No, you can't change. You can't decertify the election and get the president that you want. That doesn't work. There's no constitutional path for that. Don't you think that people would have done that for Hillary Clinton if they thought there was a path for that in 2016? All right, so that's what we see coming out of Arizona. Like I said, we don't know what happened, except for the fact that they want a little bit more time. That's all that we know right now. But just everybody go back and retreat into your own little narratives. Somebody's going to be disappointed by the end of this. I think a lot of people on both sides are going to be disappointed, but somebody's going to be disappointed by the end of this. All right. From NBC6 out of South Florida. South Florida boaters gather supplies hoping to deliver them to Cuba amid protests. From NBC6 staff. Groups in South Florida are gathering supplies and hoping to bring them by boat to those in need to Cuba amid the recent protests. Nearly 100 boaters gathered on Monday at the 79th Street Marina in North Bay Village, bringing supplies like water, food, and medicine that they want to take to the island nation and its people if they are allowed in. The planned Monday night voyage was delayed due to thunderstorms in the area, but the boaters were back at the marina Tuesday and hoping to leave on their journey. We're ready to go. We got a full tank, one voter said. We want peace. We don't want a war. We want peace. Well, I want peace too. But we have idiots like the mayor of Miami who says, airstrikes now. Those on the vessels told NBC6 they plan to go to the border with Cuba and dropping off the supplies. One member of the group said the group did not have any weapons but would respond with violence if met with violence from Cuban authorities. With what? Cuban authorities have machine guns. If you don't have any weapons, Cuban authorities are going to have some nice new boats that they might have to patch a few holes in. Just so you know. The U.S. Coast Guard posted a message on social media Monday from Rear Admiral Eric Jones warning these groups about the dangers of making the trip and asked them not to make that journey, which we'll talk a little bit about in the next article here. But, I mean, good on these people. Really, honestly, good on these people. Now, there are problems, of course, and there are risks that are involved with this, as there always will be. And that's going to be one of the things that the Coast Guard's going to bring up. I do think that there is a level of Coast Guard not wanting people to go down there just because they don't want to go help the Cuban people because, well, we have a vested interest in collapsing the communism. Or so we thought anyway, but the biggest thing for this is that private charity always beats out what the government can do. Private charity will always beat out what the government can do, and every time I see somebody trying to do private charity, my little Federalist heart beats a little bit faster because I love to see that kind of thing. Taxation is theft. You don't have to give money to the government in order to turn around and have them redistributed to poor people, whether in our country or over in Cuba. When you can just go and do it yourself. But yes, you do accept some of the perils too, because the Cuban leaders don't want any supplies getting to these people. And they have people stationed on the outside of their island with large guns that are going to make sure that these supplies don't get out to their people. Just the same way that they're going to try to make sure that these people don't leave the island. But let's see what the Coast Guard actually has to say. From Fox 13 out of Tampa, U.S. Coast Guard warns people in Florida against boating back to Cuba with supplies to support protesters. To Fox 13 via the Dissociated Press, the U.S. Coast Guard in Miami is monitoring any activity aimed at increasing unsafe and illegal crossings between Florida and Cuba in response to rare street protests on the island. Rear Admiral Eric C. Jones issued a warning statement Monday night as groups of Cuban immigrants said they planned to travel in boats filled with supplies to Cuba to show support for the Cuban protesters. South Florida has the country's largest population of Cuban Americans. In Miami, Cuban social media personalities posted Monday that they would make the 10-hour boat ride to Cuba to show support after rare street protests broke out over the weekend, the Miami Herald reported. The influencers said they would bring aid and guns. Didn't the last article just say they didn't have guns? And urged people in Miami to offer up their boats. One group gathered Monday night at Pelican Harbor Marina near Miami's North Bay Village, and people brought cases of bottled water, flashlights, and boxes of canned Chef Boyardee pasta, the newspaper reported. That is, Indiana Castillo of Santa Clara has loaded her boat with Avante with water and medicine and says she's ready to go to Cuba tonight. She's waiting for more boats to come because with 3 or 4 boats, you can't do anything. Water, food, medicine, whatever we can take to Cuba, whatever we can take to help is good, organizer Dennis Suayero told WSVN. The group didn't get very far on a rainy Monday night. A message posted to organizer Santiago Rivera's Instagram account earlier Tuesday said the Coast Guard stopped his group from crossing the straits because of the problems with firearms. He promised they would try again to leave Wednesday morning with permission of the authorities of the country. This is from U.S. Coast Guard Southeast. This just in. Please read Rear Admiral Eric C. Jones, Commander, AUSCG 7th District Director, DHS Joint Task Force, Southeast statement on recent Cuban events. Let's read what that actually says. The U.S. 7th Coast Guard District, as the lead agency protecting our southeast maritime border, is aware that yesterday tens of thousands of Cubans took to the streets to peacefully protest the dramatic rise in suffering and repression on the island. As a humanitarian organization with a core mission of protecting lives at sea, we echo the message that many U.S. leaders in support of the Cuban people exercising their fundamental right to freedom of expression and assembly, but also remind anyone considering a migrant voyage to not take to the sea. The transit is dangerous and unforgiving, as nearly 20 lives were tragically lost in recent weeks as a result of these dangerous voyages. The Coast Guard, along with our local, state, and federal partners, are monitoring any activity that may indicate increases in unsafe and illegal maritime migration in the Florida Straits, including unpermitted vessel departures from Florida to Cuba. The Coast Guard and our federal partners maintain persistent and vigilant airborne and surface patrols in the Caribbean, including the Florida Straits, to ensure safety of life at sea for all mariners. Please don't take to the sea. Rear Admiral Eric C. Jones. To an extent, I actually understand where he's going with this. I don't like it, but I understand to an extent. With this, now, people have said that they're going to Cuba and they don't have weapons, and the Coast Guard stopped them for weapons violations, going over crossing into international waters, especially waters where weapons may not be permitted. They don't want the diplomatic aspect to this, obviously. But, as I said, the Cuban authorities want to starve their people out if they're protesting. They don't want supplies getting to the protesters. The authorities are going to stop the supplies getting to the island. They're probably going to eat the Chef Boyardee for themselves. They'll probably sit around, laugh, say some things in Spanish, and eat the cheap, disgusting pasta. I'm sorry, I don't like Chef Boyardee. Then they'll probably just sit and eat that and laugh among themselves for it and drink the water. Plus, like I said, if you're going down there without weapons, keep in mind that the people that are guarding this, that are going to be confiscating the supplies that are coming into the island, have machine guns. And they'll probably have a nice brand new boat, well, brand new used boat, that they've got to patch a few holes in. So, a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of risk being taken, which, I'm never going to advise people against taking a risk. But keep in mind what it is you're doing with that risk. And if you still assess that that risk is worth it, then Godspeed to you, and I hope you a safe journey home. But these are some of the things you're going to have to face as you're going. So that's what we see. All right, let's grab, that was the one from the Coast Guard. Let's listen to the red-haired bubblehead. Press Secretary, communism is a failed ideology, and we certainly believe that it's failed the people of Cuba. They deserve freedom.
Investments in making sure we're addressing our climate crisis. He will leave the mechanics and the timeline up to Leader Schumer. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. Now that you've had a few days to think about it, does this White House still think the protests in Cuba are happening because people are upset about a rise in COVID cases there, or is there some thought maybe given to the possibility that they are protesting because they are sick of communism?
Well, Peter, first I would say communism is a failed ideology, and we certainly believe that. It has failed the people of Cuba. They deserve freedom. They deserve a government that supports them, whether that is making sure they have health and medical supplies, access to vaccines, or whether they have economic opportunity and prosperity. And instead, this has been a government, an authoritarian communist regime that has repressed its people and has failed the people of Cuba. Hence, we're seeing them in the streets. But I would note that the ideology of the government, which has failed, has led to a fail.
Yeah, I caught the corner of my eye. Inverse impact says Cuba's evolved to that's not real communism. Yeah, you guys caught that too? Yeah. Which is funny because there's so many people out there that tell me that the Biden admin is not a communist admin. In fact, we kicked that commie bastard up to the curb so we can get Biden. And we'll talk just a bit about when we talk about the Hyde Amendment, some of the leftward spiral of the Biden admin, which I don't think is coming from the House Plant in Chief himself. I think that's coming from more admin officials than him. But yeah, that's what they have to say. Let's talk about BLM and the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez D-Twitch, starting with the New York Post. BLM shows its true colors in statement praising Cuba. From Eddie Scary. Lest there be any doubt that Black Lives Matter crew has nothing to do with actual racial justice in America, look no further than the reaction to the mass protests in Cuba. The group on Wednesday put out a statement not to condemn the authoritarian regime in Cuba for violently suppressing its people, but to berate the U.S. for long-existing sanctions on the communist state. Black Lives Matter condemns the U.S. federal government's inhumane treatment of Cubans and urges it to immediately lift the economic embargo, BLM said. There's one point that I agree with BLM with. End that embargo. I want Cuban cigars, you fuckers. This cruel and inhumane policy, instituted with the explicit intention of destabilizing the country, that's not what it was implemented for, but go on, and undermining Cubans' right to choose their own government, is that Cubans don't have the right to choose their own government. They're communist. And is at the heart of Cuba's current crisis. The statement is, of course, exactly backward. The U.S. sanctions on Cuba, precisely because its communist dictators prevent Cuban people from the right to choose their own government. Well, some more of that was isolationist, and some of that was to keep, once the embargo was over, to keep business leaders from going back over there and opening up a factory, employing people who are desperate to work for 10 cents a fucking day. There's some of that goes on with that too. That was a Trump thing. Because remember, Barack ended the embargo, and there were cigars for everybody. But as business leaders started considering going down there and exporting some of their factories to the area, the Donald came up and said, "No, we can't do that. Okay, that's the worst. Okay, we're putting the embargo back on Cuba. We don't want any communist." And there was a political aspect to it too, but for the most part, it was more America first and less about, okay, I just hate Castro for the fact that he's Castro. Okay, folks, they're the worst. Communism is the worst. We're not going to do anything with Cuba once again. And yes, once again, I had to go without my favorite cigars. Bastards. Videos posted on social media show Cubans young and old calling for liberty and chanting, "Down with the dictatorship, down with communism." There's a reason that they're not crying out things like, "We hate the America" and "US sucks." You would have to attend a BLM rally for that. The protesters are angry about a lack of food and medicine, but these shortages aren't about U.S. sanctions, which allow humanitarian relief, but the greed and corruption of the Cuban government. Yet BLM and the Squad don't want to admit that Cuba has failed because it shows that one-party rule, suppression of dissent, and a Marxist economy always lead to ruin. This article is a little bit more editorialized than I would like, but that it does bring out the good point of the fact that I know BLM's like, they'll come into this country and say, well, we don't want the state because the state's executing black people, and why won't you say Black Lives Matter? Don't you believe that Black Lives Matter? When in reality, when you look at the ideology, it's not that they don't want an oppressive government. If you want that, go talk to libertarians. It's that they want their oppressive government. They want an oppressive government. They just want the one that they control. Because you can take reparations easier if you have an oppressive government. If you have a true anarchist system with no government, it's a lot harder to go take reparations from that guy that's got 25 guns mounted on turrets pointed outside his fucking window. So, yeah, they're showing their true colors. It's not about, and they hide behind, I saw a lot of this over on Twitter, where a lot of people are starting to realize the fact that Patricia Cullors got massively rich off this entire grift, where she's buying $1 million homes. They're starting to realize that this wasn't about, and some of them have figured it out. Some of them are right on the precipice of realizing that this is not about taking down an oppressive state. It's about getting rich and installing your own oppressive state. And they use the moniker Black Lives Matter to get useful idiots on board who think that it's legitimately about saving black lives. So, yeah, that's one of the things too. I mean, if I'm walking down the street someday and I see a police officer about to execute or essentially effectively going against a completely unarmed black man, I'm going to step in and intervene. I'm going to try to do it non-violently, but if it takes violence, I'm going to intervene. If somebody who's heavily armed is about to kill somebody who's unarmed, but I will not give a penny to the organization Black Lives Matter. See, there's a big difference between the two. All right, speaking of, let's talk about the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch. The Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, joins Black Lives Matter in calling for an end to cruel Cuba embargo as Biden stands firm. From Danielle Villarreal. Democratic New York Representative, the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has echoed a recent statement issued by the BLM racial justice movement, calling for the U.S. to end its absurdly cruel embargo against the island nation of Cuba. However, in a Thursday press conference, Democratic President Joe Biden seemingly signaled that the embargo will continue as the U.S. continues to monitor citizen protests on the island. Ocasio-Cortez's statement expressed solidarity with Cuban people who have been protesting repressive actions by their government amid nationwide food and medicine shortages. Okay, Papi, we stand in solidarity with them, and we condemn the anti-democratic actions led by President Diaz-Canel. Ocasio-Cortez wrote in a statement, "The suppression of the media, speech, and protests are all gross violations of civil rights, Papi. We also must name the U.S. contributions to Cuba's suffering. Our 60-year-old embargo." It's like 4 years old. Her statement continued. She noted that last month, the UN General Assembly voted once again to condemn the U.S. embargo against Cuba. The UN has condemned the embargo every year since 1992. The embargo is absurdly cruel and like too many other U.S. policies targeting Latin Americans. Hey, Paul. The cruelty is on point, Ocasio-Cortez wrote. I outright reject the Biden admin's defense of the embargo. It is never acceptable for us to use cruelty as a point of leverage against everyday people. There is a problem with embargoes. There is a big problem with embargoes, sanctions, and otherwise because, well, it's an effective tool, but it does make the wrong people suffer. And as you know, a lot of people pointed the same thing out when we were sanctioning Iran, because the people who get hit the hardest in a sanction or an embargo are the people on the streets, the people like you and me, who are out there just scraping by, trying to feed their families every single day. Those are the people that get hit by embargoes and sanctions. But most of the world's population is also 3 missed meals away from a revolution. So once those Cuban people start to miss 3 meals, or the kids start to, especially if their kids start to miss 3 meals, they start to realize that there's a lot more of them than there are of the government. Now, in the Cuba case, the government has guns and the people don't, and that's the same thing with Iran, but, you know, once you start starving out, because the politicians are going to get rich no matter what. But if there's 10 of them, and 100 people who are starving, well, it's not going to end well for the politicians. But regardless, I still don't like the idea of trying to make them suffer for trying to do so. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't want to see any foreign intervention. But that's what we're seeing coming up out of the Caribbean Sea. All right, let's grab one from Fox News. Let's talk about budgetary stuff. Biden's flip on the Hyde Amendment, sign of administration spiraling way, way to the left. McConnell. From Ron Blitzer. Senate Minority Leader Turtleman McConnell slammed President Biden for steering the U.S. to the more left, despite campaigning as a moderate in the light of Democrats' push to eliminate the Hyde Amendment. First passed in 1977, the Hyde Amendment to Medicaid prohibits federal tax dollars from being used to fund abortions, even though they are, except in cases where the woman's life is in danger. Exceptions for cases of rape or incest were later added. McConnell noted that while the White House's budget request has called for scrapping this, Biden supported the Hyde Amendment in the past. For decades, nearly his entire career, then-Senator Joe Biden was a reliable supporter of high protections, McConnell said in remarks on the Senate floor, knowing full well because he's been there for fucking ever too. Well, a couple of years ago, on the presidential campaign trail, our former colleague changed his tune. He let the demands of the increasingly radical left overcome a principle he had literally for decades. McConnell went on to say that Biden's newfound opposition to the Hyde Amendment is yet another way the administration has sold itself as a moderate and unifying, but is now spiraling way to the left. The Republican leader stated that this illustrates the current state of the Democrat Party. In today's Democrat Party, he said, there's no room for dissent from the far left's culture war, even in the modest, most standing, popular ways. Fox News reached out to the White House for comment, but they did not immediately respond. Yeah, they're probably not going to respond for the next few years, Fox News. McConnell vowed the Republicans would resist the effort to scrap the Hyde Amendment, saying the GOP would continue to stand up for millions of Americans who don't want the government laundering their hard-earned money to abortion providers, who typically turn around and launder the money back to the Democratic politicians. Fox News can't say that, but I can. This is not the first time this week that McConnell has taken to the Senate floor to accuse Democrats of moving further to the left. On Tuesday, he railed against Democrats for contributing to growing inflation, warning that the massive spending package supported by those, including self-described Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders, would make matters worse. Well, we talked about that earlier on in the week. As far as the Hyde Amendment goes, I don't know why we're funding these things in the first place. If a locality wants to go back and fund a local medical provider, I'm cool with that. And I have the opportunity to vote back against this. But why are we doing this in the first place? Why is this coming out of the federal government? You know, if the federal government only did interstate commerce, we wouldn't have this problem. But try to talk reason into people who have been sitting in Washington, D.C. for 70 fucking years. Inverse, if you can make some for me, I don't know how to make them. That's the thing. I would get emotes, but I don't know how to make them. So there's that. Let's grab another one here from the federal government. Exclusive. Stephen Breyer says he hasn't decided his retirement plans and is happy as the Supreme Court's top liberal. From Joan Biskupic. Justice Stephen Breyer has not decided when he will retire and especially is gratified with his new role as the senior liberal on the bench, he told CNN in an exclusive interview. His first public comments amid the incessant speculation of a Supreme Court vacancy. Far from Washington and the pressures of the recently completed session and chatter over his possible retirement, Breyer, a 27-year veteran of the High Court, said Wednesday that two factors will be overriding his decisions. Primarily, of course, health, said Breyer, who will turn 83 in August. Second, the court. Liberal advocates, law professors, and some Democratic members of Congress have tried in public statements to persuade Breyer to leave the bench. They want Democratic President Joe Biden to be able to name a younger liberal, while the Senate, which has the constitutional advice and consent power, holds a thin Democratic majority. Some liberals were urging Breyer to announce a departure as the justices released their final opinions the first week in July, but Breyer has shown no desire to leave the bench at this point, especially as he's obtained more power as the ranking justice on the left after the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg last year. When asked directly over coffee in rural New Hampshire whether he had decided when to step down, Breyer simply said no. He brushed aside questions about the timing of the decision, but was willing to speak about the factors that would influence him, including the regard for the court. He also elaborated with the satisfaction his leadership role to the left wing has brought. Breyer said his new seniority in the justice's private discussion over cases, he has made a difference to me. It's not a fight, it is not sarcasm, it's deliberation. During the recent session, Breyer assumed a leading role on several major cases, including to reject a third challenge to the ACA, to bolster student speech rights, and to give Google a victory in a multi-billion-dollar copyright infringement case brought by Oracle. He also undertook a new role in internal debate, speaking sooner in the justice's private conferences, steered by the rhythms of seniority. When the justices meet in private to decide how to vote on cases, the 9 are alone. They can call these collective sessions the conference, and according to long-standing tradition, Chief Justice John Roberts speaks first, giving his thoughts about a case, then casting the vote. Next comes Clarence Thomas, on the court for 30 years. Breyer's now next in order, and the first liberal to have a shot at influencing a case and any cross-ideological consensus. And yes, there is that would go along with this, and if they did nominate somebody else, that person would be the last person to speak. It does seem to go back on seniority, but the fact that we're seeing so many, and I'm not seeing a lot of calls from this from the moderate left either. This is all on the radical left. Tells me that they don't think that they're going to do so hot in the midterms. You don't act like this if you're certain about your chances. Now, of course, they could Hong Kong fortify the Hong Kong election to make sure that they get what it is that they want, but the more and more and more they fight and bicker, the harder and harder the Senate map gets. And the Senate map, I can't talk this morning. I'm going to talk like Joe Biden, man. Come on, man. You got to go back. The Senate on the Democrat side had a very, very easy map coming into 2022, but I'm even starting to question that at this point because they keep doing stupid shit. They had a very, very easy map coming into 2022. Republicans are defending a lot of seats this time through. In a lot of very purple areas. But they want to get that other seat on there because they don't want Trump. That's what they're afraid of right now. With the straw poll and CPAC. And you'll notice after the straw poll and CPAC, with the straw poll and CPAC, the hard fight that they're having in the Senate and the fact that they're almost guaranteed statistically to lose the House, Breyer might step down or die after 2022. But we will see what happens, and we'll see where this goes. Maybe he'll get Clinton sided. Who knows? All right, from the Daily Wire. Biden admin admits there will be several more months of rapid inflation. From Ryan Saavedra. Do we have video? We don't have video. The Biden admin admitted on Thursday there will be several more months of major inflation spikes as the overwhelming majority of Americans are worried about rising prices. We will have several more months of rapid inflation, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said. So I'm not saying this is a one-month phenomenon, but I think over the medium term we'll see inflation decline back toward normal levels, but of course we have to keep a careful eye on it. However, top economists are warning that the inflation surge that is hitting Americans right now will last a lot longer than just a few additional months of surging prices. Well, that'll depend on what happens with the major spending bill. Americans should brace themselves for several years of higher inflation than they've seen in decades, according to economists who expect the robust post-pandemic economic recovery to fuel brisk price increases for a while, the Wall Street Journal reported. The respondents on average now expect a widely followed measure of inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy components, to be up to 3.2% in the fourth quarter of 2021. From a year before, they forecast the annual rise to recede to slightly less than 2.3% a year in 2022 and 2023. That would mean an average annual increase of 2.58% from 2021 to 2023, putting inflation levels at levels last seen in 1993. Some Democrats have started admitting to their constituents that President Biden's policies may have caused the spike in inflation. We knew there was a possibility this could lead to inflation. I feel it, Kim Schreier of Washington said. We all feel it a little bit, that everything feels a little more expensive. On top of that, gas is more expensive. The administration previously bragged about saving Americans a whopping 16 cents on a narrow list of selected July 4th food items. Yeah, they're coming out and saying that. They knew what was coming in with this when they started printing money more and more, and they started talking about monthly stimulus over and over again. They're going to inflate the currency out of existence. And they're already talking about making a new digital currency on top of that, because I think they've fucked the currency to the point that they can't do anything with it anymore. It's what it's starting to look like here. Or maybe they're just trying to get rid of coinage. Who knows? But I always love how we widely follow the measure of inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy components. You mean the thing that everybody needs? People can live without going and getting that screen TV that's inflated up to a new level. But they still need to eat food. They still need to have the electricity because they can't go off grid. Sorry for the brief drop off there. But, yeah, that's where we're going here. That's where they're going. From NBC News, Biden hosts German Chancellor Angela Merkel at the White House. From Rebecca Shabbat and Lauren Egan. President Biden hosted German Chancellor Angela Merkel at the White House on Thursday for what is expected to be her last trip to Washington before she retires from office later this year. So why be a diplomat? The two leaders met for nearly an hour in the Oval Office and discussed a number of items, including the threat of climate change, the pinko-fucking-pox, and vaccine property rights, Afghanistan, as well as cyber attacks, and aggressive behavior by China and Russia. During a press conference following their meeting, Biden said he and Merkel also discussed the controversial Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, which has been a source of tension between the U.S. and Germany. Biden is opposed to the major Russia to Germany gas pipeline out of concern that it will empower Russia, while Merkel has argued that it's a commercial matter that should not be subject to geopolitics. While I reiterated my concerns about Nord Stream, While I reiterated my concerns about Nord Stream to Chancellor Merkel, we're absolutely united in our conviction that Russia must not be allowed to use energy as a weapon to coerce or threaten its neighbors, Biden said. No, let's just give them the opportunity to do so. Biden has sought to strengthen ties with global allies after former President Trump's America First approach to foreign policy frayed a number of relationships, including ties between the U.S. and Germany. Well, they should think about their relationship and who they badmouth before they realize that the U.S. pays for all their fucking defense. Trump frequently clashed with Merkel, accusing her of being captive to Russia. Okay, it's worse. Russia's the worst. I know that the fake news media tries to tell you that they installed me, but they are the worst, okay? Merkel's visit marked Biden's first in-person meeting with a European leader at the White House since taking office. Both Biden and Merkel emphasized the closeness of their relationship on Thursday. Biden recognized Merkel for her groundbreaking career and said that on a personal note, I'll miss seeing you at our summits, man. Merkel said she and Biden are not only partners, but we are very close friends. So that's what happened with her coming over, but let's see what Richard Grenell had to say as Merkel meets with Biden. Concern grows over Germany's shift towards Russia and China. From Charlie Kreitz. Outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel met with President Biden at the White House on Thursday amid growing concern over Berlin's shift away from a Western-facing geopolitical alliance and more towards one making overtures towards rivals Russia and China as trade partners, according to U.S. Ambassador to Germany Richard Grenell. Grenell, who served under President Trump, told The Story on Thursday that despite the White House statements, Biden will likely pay lip service to concerns over Russia completing the Nord Stream pipeline to Merkel's nation. Martha McCallum said the White House stated Biden will raise his objections over the pipeline with Merkel as he will press her on the importance of developing concrete mechanisms to ensure that energy is not used as a coercive tool in Europe and the Ukraine, as he lifted the sanctions and allowed Russia to go and build the pipeline into Germany. Knowing their record. Grenell dismissed the claim, saying the issue goes to the core of what he called Merkel's departure from a Western-facing alliance that Germany has developed since the end of World War II, and more so, in earnest, in the time since the country's reunification in November 9th of 1989. I think Biden will utter those words and not really know exactly what they mean, and everyone will go on. Yeah, Biden says a lot of things where he doesn't know what the words mean. They've already dropped their sanctions. The Germans are celebrating they're getting Russian gas. This is a disaster. Grenell said he likes Chancellor Merkel, 66, on a personal level, and that she has overall been a good leader. However, he reiterated that she has moved to Germany into an alliance that is not Western-facing anymore. He said the international community is celebrating her tenure without looking at the fact that she has, at times, viewed herself, as Time magazine described her in 2015, as Person of the Year profile, as the de facto leader of the European Union despite other factors. Yeah, what happened the last two times that Germany tried to annex all of Europe? She likes the idea of a EU-US alliance, not a Western alliance. The Germans want to be friends with everybody. They have a huge surplus. They want to continue buying and trading with China, Grenell said. What Chancellor Merkel has done is moved Germany and Europe away from a Western-facing alliance and is Germany first. We praise the last guy for saying that. You, Richard Grenell, praise the last guy for saying America first. So why is Germany going to be different? And really, honestly, I don't care what Germany does. I know that, like I said, we are paying their defense costs right now, as we are with most of Europe, which is a big part of the reason that they have such a huge surplus. But, I mean, you can't bag on somebody for wanting to put their country first either. That just doesn't work. Am I uneasy about the fact that Germany is getting its gas and their natural gas from Russia? Oh, hell yes. Because that puts Europe onto a footing where Russia could still come back in and violate what NATO was put in place to protect from. But I can't bag on Merkel for trying to put Germany first. I want to put America first. But that's what we see going on there. From CNN, 1,300 people assumed missing in one German district after deadly floods hit Western Europe. From Nadine Schmidt, Schwam's Elwazar, Barbara Wojazar, Sharon Brainwaite of CNN. About 1,300 people remain unaccounted for in Germany after the heaviest rainfall in a century caused deadly flash floods to devastate parts of Western Europe, prompting a large-scale rescue effort. Fast-moving torrents of water inundated entire towns and villages in western and southern Germany, causing buildings to collapse and leaving residents stranded, police said on Thursday. At least 55 people have died in the severe flooding, but authorities said that number is expected to rise. Germany is worst hit with 49 dead, while 6 people died in Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands are also affected. Somebody go check on Styx. Make sure he's got 4 videos again today. In Germany's worst hit Rhineland-Palatinate state, 1,300 people are assumed missing in the district of Ahrweiler, the local government said. In some areas, we've not seen this much rainfall in 100 years, Andreas Friedrich, a German Weather Service spokesman, told CNN. He added that in some areas, we've seen more than double the amount of rainfall, which has caused flooding and, unfortunately, some building structures to collapse. Along with the Rhineland-Palatinate, the German regions of North Rhine-Westphalia and Saarland were worst affected, Friedrich added. Extreme rainfall totals were observed Wednesday into Thursday morning across much of western Germany and the Benelux region, with North Rhine-Westphalia and Rhineland-Palatinate seeing the highest rainfall totals, according to CNN meteorologist Brandon Miller. Widespread swaths of these states saw 24-hour rainfall totals between 100 and 150 millimeters, which is 3.9 to 5.9 inches for those of you who use American numbers, not communist numbers, which represents more than a month's worth of rainfall in this region. Cologne recorded 154 millimeters, or 6 inches of rainfall, in only 24 hours ending on Thursday morning, which is nearly double the monthly average for July of 87 millimeters, or 3.45 inches. So, well, if you know somebody in Germany, go check on them. That's one thing for sure, plus the Netherlands and Belgium too. But yeah, go check on them because that's huge. And if we got to do an outreach, if we got to do some charity for them, well, we got to figure that out. All right, from Fox 13. Hillsborough GOP calls on Governor DeSantis to keep the U.S. Capitol Police from opening a Tampa field office. From the Fox 13 staff. In the 6 months since the violent selfie fest at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, more than 500 people have been arrested, with 55 of those charged coming from Florida. More than a dozen of those defendants called the Tampa Bay area home. U.S. Capitol Police said because the major threats come from Florida and California. They don't come from California. They decided to open 2 field offices, one in Tampa and one in San Francisco. The field offices are a first for the agency and may play a role in identifying future threats. But not everyone is on board with this idea. The Republican Party of Hillsborough County tweeted that they sent a letter to Governor DeSantis on Wednesday asking for him to put an end to the establishment of the Tampa field office, but hours after posting images of the letter on Twitter, the tweet was deleted from their account. Here is the letter, and we will put this in the Discord for you guys. So I'm not going to sit through and read the letter because it is quite lengthy. That is some hot stuff. You can get that in a number of different places. But we'll throw this into the Discord here. And you guys can go check out that letter for yourselves. That'll be in general chat. There we go. There's the article, and the letter's in there with it. So go and check that out. As governor, you have the authority to deny this intrusion on our state, our people, and our Constitution, the letter said. The letter, authored by a party chairman and retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Jim Warishuk, goes on to say the Capitol Police are not elected or controlled by anyone chosen by the people of Florida, nor do local and state law enforcement have any jurisdiction. And that's the important part. Warashuk continues, the existence of Capitol Police and the FBI interstate is a global statement from that Florida sheriffs and peace officers are incompetent and incapable of doing their jobs. Further, this is a slap in the face of our local sheriffs and police officers. And this is part of what I've been saying. Now, as far as the FBI, as far as they go, the FBI does, unfortunately, and I don't believe the FBI should exist, and I never have. There should be something for interstate commerce, but this isn't interstate commerce. This is the executive branch using one of its powers to go back after its political enemies. As far as the FBI goes, they would technically have jurisdiction because what happened on Capitol grounds, on federal grounds, and in the District of Columbia. So there's all that, but they don't have extradition rights out of Florida. But the Capitol Police themselves have absolutely no authority to go into Florida and do this. They don't have jurisdiction outside the federal grounds. And I pointed this out numerous times. They don't even have jurisdiction in D.C. proper. They don't have the jurisdiction to go to the gas station that's around the corner from where Stephen Ignoramus used to live. The Capitol Police doesn't. They have D.C. Metro Police to go to that gas station. If somebody goes and jacks that gas station, the Capitol Police don't respond. The D.C. Metro Police do. They really don't have jurisdiction outside the mall. So what makes them think that they can go open a field office in California and Florida, other than the fact that we're sitting here trying to federalize the U.S. police force? Because it's not that they don't want police, it's that they want police that they control. Follow the bouncing ball. A lot more people should be doing that anyway. Follow the bouncing ball. Always follow the bouncing ball. Because while they're sitting over here showing you what it is that they want to do, somebody else is over here doing something in the background. It's sleight of hand. All right, what else do we have? What else are we doing today? Capitol Police arrest Representative Joyce Beatty during voting rights protest in Hart Senate Office Building. From Andrew Mark Miller. Democratic Congresswoman Joyce Beatty was arrested in the Hart Senate Office Building Thursday after she led a group of protesters into the building. Ooh. Oh, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. After everybody's still on edge from January 6th, this could be worse than 9/11, you guys. A photo posted by Politico reporter Nicholas Wu shows Beatty and others being zip-tied by Capitol Police. Guys, people who are opposed to the government have breached the Capitol. Beatty, who is the head of the Congressional Black Caucus, was seen moments earlier walking into the building, chanting, "End the filibuster." I can't tell what they're saying, can you? I can't make anything out of that. Representative Joyce Beatty among those arrested protesting for voter rights in the Senate Hart Building atrium. Around the same time of the arrest, Beatty posted on her Twitter account that she was marching to the Senate to protect voting rights for black women. Black women are demanding our right to vote. We're marching to the Senate to send a strong message. Our power, our message, Beatty tweeted. Beatty's Twitter account also posted a photo of the arrest taking place with the caption, "Let the people fight for justice." Dude, this could definitely be worse than 9/11. This could absolutely be worse than 9/11. I want facial recognition on all these people. I want their cell phone records dumped. I want to know everything about them, everything that they've done, every website they visited for the last 12 years. Because this could possibly be the worst attack on our democracy ever. Oh wait, that only works if it's enemies of the current administration, doesn't it? Where's this woman even out of? I'm really curious as to where her right to vote is being violated from. Where's Joyce Beatty from? Doesn't tell me in the article. Let's go hit the Google machine. She's from Ohio. So why aren't you talking to Mike DeWine and the Ohio legislature, who actually controls your voting rights? Oh, I know, because you get to virtue signal and show off the fact that you get to do this in the Capitol, but the people who are enemies of the Biden admin don't. That's what this is really all about here. All right, let's grab another one here. You guys remember, we'll be doing the live chat fairly soon. We might have to cut out early again because I think we're going to run out of time once again here. Plus, and I'm not going to go without thanking you guys in the live chat. So make sure that you guys get those messages in there. We got about 7 minutes left. Let's see what we can still get through. From ABC 7, LA County seeing nearly 10 times as many COVID-19 cases as before California reopening. From Denise Dador, it's been a month since California's reopening, and doctors are seeing a troubling trend, a spike in cases, and experts fear it could get worse. LA County reported 1,315 new common fucking coop cases on a Wednesday. That's almost 10 times the number of cases the county saw exactly 1 month ago, one day before California's reopening, 135 cases. I think that had a lot more to do with curbing the testing and making sure that Gavin Newsom can come out facing down his recall election saying, "Oh, see, I got the coronavirus under control." It was the 6th consecutive day of daily new cases exceeding 1,000. Community transmission of the pinko fucking pox in Los Angeles County has increased to a moderate level and may continue to increase unless everyone consistently and proactively takes steps to reduce their risk of infection and the spread of the pinko fucking pox, a county official said in a statement on Wednesday. In addition to more cases, the number of hospitalizations has also been increasing. But they're the most vaccinated state in the country, don't you know? The medical director of the emergency department at Cedars-Sinai worries the spike could get worse. All of a sudden, the past couple of weeks, we've seen a 7-fold increase in the number of people coming to the ER with pinko-pox-related issues, said Dr. Sam Torbati. And all of this is to tell you and remind you, of course, the fact that this was never going to be over. And now we're sitting here saying, "Oh my God, look at all the new cases. Look at those new cases. Those new cases." Well, you took your mask off too soon, you bigot. Now we've got a mask up forever. And now we've got somebody, by the way, who's having his strings pulled by administration that isn't afraid to tell you on a federal level that you have to mask up. They're not afraid to trample on the Constitution. He's not afraid to make it a federal law that you have to mask up every fucking where. Well, he's not afraid of anything anymore because his brain is Swiss cheese. But the people who are pulling his strings are not afraid to do this either. All right, what else do we have? From the LA Times. LA County will require masks indoors amid alarming rise in coronavirus cases. There it is. The masks are back. From Luke Money, Rongong Lin II. Faced with a distressing rise in coronavirus cases, LA County will again require residents to wear masks in indoor public spaces regardless of their vaccination status. The new order, which comes a little more than 2 weeks after the county recommended the same protocols as a precaution, will go into effect at 11:59 p.m. Saturday, according to the county's health. Why not do it now? Why not do it now? If you're so worried, if you are so concerned about this right now, because everybody's got a mask because they wore them for a year, why not start it now? Why are you waiting until Saturday? According to county's health officer, Dr. Muntu Davis. Some exceptions will apply, Davis said, but the order will be similar to the requirements that were in place prior to California's June 15th reopening. We're not where we need to be for the millions at risk of infection here in LA County, and waiting for something will be too late given what we're seeing now, Davis told reporters on Thursday. LA County has seen a steep increase of coronavirus cases, 261%, You took your mask off too soon, The vaccine doesn't really work, Yeah, the narrative. It's the narrative. Another one from ABC 7. Also speaking to the fact that we might be seeing a shutdown coming here in just a second. California approves $35 million plan for nation's first state-funded guaranteed income program. by ABC7 by the Associated Press from Rob McMillan. California lawmakers on Thursday approved the first state-funded guaranteed income plan in the U.S., $35 million for monthly cash payments to qualifying pregnant people and young adults who recently left foster care with no restrictions on how they spend it. Meth. The votes, 36-0 in the Senate and 64-0 in the Assembly, showed bipartisan support for an idea that's gaining momentum across the country. Dozens of local programs have sprung up in recent years, including some that have been privately funded, making it easier for elected officials to sell the public on the idea. California's plan is taxpayer funded, as is most everything that comes out of California, and could spur other states to follow its lead. If you look at the stats for our foster youth, they're devastating. Senate Republican leader Scott Wilkes said, "We should be doing all we can to lift these young people up." Local governments and organizations will apply for the money and run their programs. The State Department of Social Services will decide who gets the funding. California lawmakers left it up to local officials to determine the size of the monthly payments, which generally range from $500 to $1,000 in existing programs around the country. The vote came the same day millions of parents began receiving their first monthly payments under a temporary expansion of the federal child tax credit many view as a form of guaranteed income. No, that's just optics. That's just an advance on what you would normally have got off the end of the year by taking advantage of the child tax credit when you did your taxes. They're just giving it to you in a check so you can come and say, look how cool it is if you get universal basic income. All optics. Every single penny of it is optics. Now there's momentum. Things are moving quickly, said Michael Tubbs, an advisor to Governor Gavin Newsom, who was a trailblazer when he instituted guaranteed income programs as mayor of Stockton. The next step is the federal government. And there it is. We're going to do this in California so that the Biden admin can do it on the federal level. More commie coof, pinko fucking pox news. I think we're going to finish up with the stuff with the pinko pox. No, we're gonna get up to this NBC article. Then I think we're gonna call it, because I do still have to get to work here, and it's already 9. So let's see from NBC 10 out of Boston. Dozens of vaccinated residents have died of COVID en masse. What to know about the breakthrough cases? From Staff and Wire reports. Yeah, how was that vaccine for you? Nearly 80 people have died with the pinko fucking pox in Massachusetts, even though they were fully vaccinated, as the more contagious Delta variant continues to spread. These breakthrough cases were fully vaccinated individuals. Test positive for coronavirus have so far been rare, but are possible. Here's what you need to know about the breakthrough cases en masse. Public health officials have tracked 4,450 breakthrough cases of the pinko pox among mass residents fully vaccinated against the disease, representing about 0.1%, the roughly 4.2 million people immunized. About 92% of the infections in vaccinated residents did not require hospitalizations, while 303 people, or 6.8%, were hospitalized, according to the State Department of Public Health data through July 10th. The Boston Herald reported the breakthrough data on Tuesday based on the public records request. 79 vaccinated residents en masse died from COVID-19, either without being hospitalized or following a hospital stay, DPH said. The death toll reflects 1.78% of the 4,450 confirmed breakthrough cases and 0.0019% of the 4,195,844 people fully vaccinated as of July 10th. All available data continue to support that all 3 vaccines used in the U.S. are highly protective against severe disease and death from all known variants of the pinko pox. But the best way to protect yourself and your loved ones is to get vaccinated, the DPH said in a statement to the Boston Globe. Well, clearly not. Clearly not, because people are still getting sick from this. I mean, it's a milder symptom. Don't get me wrong. And I understand the fact that what's going on with this. But I was promised that this was going to be the end-all, cure-all. And that's why we needed to get everybody vaccinated right away so we can kill this thing. Instead of leaving it in there, finding out how people have resistances to it, and have the fucking thing mutate once again. So there's what's going on with that. All right. This one was great, and I'm telling you right now, never ever do this. Don't do this. This is not something you should be doing. This is a horrible thing to do, and this definitely changes the course of U.S. history. This could end the U.S. history as we know it, because this is so inherently evil, and you should never ever do this. From CBS 5 KPIX out of San Francisco Bay Area, Napa naturopathic doctor accused of selling fake COVID pills, providing fake immunization cards. No author given. A licensed naturopathic doctor in Napa was arrested Wednesday in an alleged scheme to sell homeoprophylaxis immunization pellets and provide fake COVID-19 vaccination cards, federal authorities announced. Julie A. Motzi, 41, was charged with 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of false statements related to healthcare matters. What was characterized as the first federal criminal prosecution related to the homeoprophylaxis immunizations and a fake COVID-19 immunization record. Based. Ethan Gladner lives in the same apartment complex where Mozzie operated her practice. Agents made the arrest as they raided her office. Didn't know anything about it. Just kind of crazy to think it can happen in the small town we live in. Dude, it's a fake vaccination card. It's not a fucking $billion meth ring. I don't think that this could happen in the small town we live in. Those evil people who are writing on cardboard. Sonny, in my day, we only wrote on cardboard if we had the government authority. And these people. I mean, back in my day, we had weed rings. And that was the most excitement that we had. And moonshine, Sonny. Mazzy was investigated after a complaint to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services from a person whose family members purchased products from her in April, according to court documents. The complaint said Mazzy told family members her homeoprophylaxis pellets contained the COVID-19 virus and will create an antibody response in their immune systems. Along with the pellets, Mazzy agreed to send falsified U.S. CDC vaccination cards to the family with a Moderna vaccine listed on the cards. Mazzy allegedly told family members to mark the cards to falsely state they had received the Moderna vaccine on the date they ingested the pellets. You should never, ever, ever, ever sell a fake vaccination card. You should never, ever, ever give somebody a false movement license. Never, ever, ever. That would be the most horrible thing you could possibly do. All right. The Foo Fighters postponed concert due to COVID-19 cases, but I thought that you had to be fully vaccinated to go there. From Judy Kurtz. The Foo Fighters say they're postponing a concert scheduled for this week in LA after someone within the Foo Fighters organization tested positive for the pinko pox. The band released a statement on Wednesday announcing the news, saying Saturday's show at the Forum would be shifted to a later date. Despite having made every effort to follow CDC COVID protocols and local laws, there have been a confirmed COVID-19 case within the Foo Fighters organization, the musicians said. The decision to postpone the concert was made out of an abundance of caution and concern for the safety of the band, crew, and most of all the fans, according to the group. The announcement didn't indicate who had tested positive. But everybody has to be fully vaccinated to get there. Everybody on the crew has to be fully vaccinated. Everyone to get in the crowd has to be fully vaccinated. I'm guessing you guys got sold a pig and a poke and some snake oil when you got the vaccine. But, of course, the vaccine works, and everybody should get this, and everybody should have the vaccine, and don't ban me, Susan. All right, last one. And then we're going to head on out of here for the day, after we read the live chat for everybody, of course. The last one from NBC News. And, by the way, Ron, I need to see your DoorDash credentials, because I need to make sure that this wasn't you. Helton, get in here. I need to make sure that you were not driving DoorDash this day. Police investigate video allegedly showing DoorDash driver tampering with officer's meal. From Alicia Fieldstadt. I don't know why my internet connection has suddenly gone so bad where it's just dropped out 3 times in just a few minutes. All right. The New York City Police Department is investigating a... Wait, New York City Police Department. Quest, where were you? Are you driving DoorDash right now? Quest. The New York City Police Department is investigating a video posted to social media that appeared to show a DoorDash driver sticking his hands and a note in a meal delivered to a Brooklyn precinct. The clip, which appeared on the Facebook page, has since been deleted, captured the driver opening a Chipotle container and putting a note inside that read, "Hope that shit tastes good," according to NBC News. That's not what it said. Just so you know. And I'll tell you what it said after here. The person who posted the video to Facebook wrote, "This is a Facebook public announcement. I don't violate people, food like that. That was personal. We at war." The incident happened Monday afternoon, the police said. The officer who received the order threw it out, according to the department. The DoorDash driver has not been identified, but New York City authorities are praising him as a hero. A spokesperson for the app-based delivery service told NBC News on Wednesday that the behavior is absolutely unacceptable and has no place in our community. "We take the trust and respect of merchants, customers, and Dashers extremely seriously. We have deactivated the Dasher and reached out to the customer involved." In a statement, Chipotle's Chief Corporate Affairs Officer, Lori Shallow, said, "The actions displayed by this third-party delivery driver are inexcusable, and we've ensured our delivery partner has deactivated the individual's account." If police find the driver, he could be charged with reckless endangerment, which is a felony, the department said. So, apparently the note said, "I hope this shit tastes good." But that's not what the Blaze and the Daily Wire told me. That's what NBC told me. According to the Blaze and the Daily Wire, the note said, "I hope this dick tastes good," and the video contained the DoorDash driver fucking the cop's food. Either way. And I've never been anti-cop. I really haven't. They're a blue-collar worker. They're in such a position of power because our government has way too many laws. But they're just a regular blue-collar worker who makes like 20 grand a year trying to feed their family. I think it's more than that. I think it's like 30 grand. But I mean, they don't make much less than I do. Most entry-level cops. I think they make just slightly less than where I'm at right now. And I'm not anywhere near a powerful person. Your power comes from the laws the government has endowed you to enforce, and the government has way too many of them. But that's what we see coming out here, and yeah, this guy says they're at war. Well, I hope that I hope he gets what's coming to him, because I mean that's a dick move. You order food because you want to be nourished, or you want to treat yourself after a bad day, and somebody goes and sticks his penis in your fucking food. What is a bridge too far at this point? All right. We are going to save these last 5 here for Monday because it's already 9:12 and I've got to get myself to work here. But yeah, we've still got the Lindsey Graham Chick-fil-A thing, the Capitol Gazette gunman thing we got to do here. The irreversible damage, I might skip that just because I don't care about that movement. But other than that, yeah, we got a couple more things to do. We got to go back and do that on Monday, though. Let's get in with the live chat here. So those of you who chatted in the live chat this week are definitely going to be you'll be getting a thank you because yeah, that was really cool, you guys, to come back in and hang out with me through the week here. But let's start off with the week as I continue to stutter and make my best impression of Joe Biden. Come on, man, and it's just a childhood stutter, man. I'm not going into dementia or anything, man. Come on. So on Monday, we had Quest Fanning, Random Randy, Arvolt, Spartan 0000, Superior, Might Be Wrong, Sully Blue, Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru, High Leap was here, And Chilaga 1984, thank you guys all for coming in and welcoming me back on Monday after my great vacation. So you guys all rock. And thank you, by the way, for joining me last Monday as well, right before I went back out for that. On Tuesday, we had Quest Fanning, Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru. Katie Zed was here, which was cool. That's a name. And I see that Katie Zed was in here today too, but that's cool. Some people crossing over from Steven's channel. That you guys rock, by the way. Ron Helton, Sully Blue, Matt Cal Mark was here, and Chilaga 1984. And thank you everybody who came by and chatted along with me, even though I was driving at the time and couldn't really interact with you guys a lot. But everybody who chatted along with me while we were sitting here watching Jessica Green present you the news on Contemporary. Thank you guys. You guys all rock. On Wednesday, we had Random Randy, Quest Fanning, Matt Cal Mark, Mena was here, Sully Blue. Harvey McLeod joined us briefly on Wednesday. Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru rounded out our Wednesday. And once again, thank you everybody who came back and hung out with me while we sat and watched Seawall present the news. Seawall, I hope you're listening right now. You have had numerous requests to start your own show because people liked what you did. So possibly come back out there and get everything started. I think you would do well with it too. And also, thank you for hosting my show and all the times that you've come by and helped out with the Red Net Show or Ed's World as well. Thank you very much for that. On Thursday, we had Highleaf was our top chatter. Spartan 0000 Superior. Ron Helton was here in numerous forms. Quest Fanning was also here in numerous forms. Oh, by the way, going back to Tuesday, thanks everybody else who came and hung out as well. Based on the fact that we didn't have any other platforms. We just had YouTube that day because Restream was being a little bitch. We had Spartan, Ron Helton, Quest Fanning, Chilaga 1984 was here. Luke Wee showed up for a message yesterday, so thank you guys for that. And as far as last Thursday, thanks everybody who came by and hung out with my friend Stephen Ignoramus as he presented the news. You guys all rocked for that. And once again, I was in there chatting along with you guys, so I saw what you guys were saying. And it was a good time, so thank you guys for that. All right, today, we have the Pretzel Rocks robot, who I unbanned, by the way. Don't ban my robots. Let's see, we have Chilaga 1984. Good morning, I like the intro. Yeah, I like the intro, because, I mean, that's not a planned intro music. It's just what falls on the Pretzel Rocks playlist. Looks like it was Diana's Bow by Abstraction. If you guys want to go check out the YouTube video. Let me go see if I can find that quick as long as I'm thinking about it. And I will post that in the general as well. Is that one N? That's one N. Yeah, that's the one. I'll put the link for that in the Discord. Ron Helton, Jay burned my fingers out here. Yes, I know. I had a kitchen fire. We're getting it all fixed. It's actually going to turn out really well by the time we're done with it. But yes, I know. Ron Helton is over here on the YouTube side as well. Ron is on the YouTube and the Trovo side. It's Bloombutt. Yeah. I love that. Chilaga 1984 is here. Morning Quest. Where's Quest? I didn't see him. There he is. Yeah, there's his good morning. Bennett Bob says morning. Oh, cool, the audit. What does the result of the audit actually show? We don't know yet because it's not done. Chilaga says, well, I just saw the IRS deposited $333 in my bank account for the child tax credit. What the fuck, Biden? I don't need your help. Yeah, and you're not going to get as much of it back at the end of the year either. Quest says, but it has been taking a lot longer than the previous two counts. Chilaga, take the money. Your kids and grandkids will need to repay it anyways. You've got under 6 and grandkids? No, he's just Grandpa Millennial. If he's old enough to have grandkids, I'm old enough to have grandkids, which technically I am, but that would be a bunch of a stretch anyway, or a few a few outside circumstances as well. It's not likely he has grandkids, but it is physically possible. Because Chilaga and I were born the same year. Oh, you changed your handle to Grandpa Millennial. Apparently he's got an online identity crisis. Apparently somebody's got a chainsaw outside too, by the way. I was looking at the opt-out policy, but they make you sign up with an IRS username. This is bullshit. Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like I won't give the IRS my bank account information. As much as they beg me for it, I won't give that to them. Let's see, what else? What else are we doing here? Invest the money and leave an asset for your youngest. Quest says, I was mentioning to a coworker recently that sometimes I feel if Brandy is slacking, I'll mention the homeless guy on the bench across the street and say, you want to end up like him? My coworker immediately said, there's zero chance Brandy ends up homeless. Yeah, contemporaries raise winners. That's right. Inverse Impact says, what if I decide something different than you? Well, the facts will come out. I think that was with the Arizona audit. Do what you want with your child tax credit, Inverse Impact. Yeah, Cuba's evolved into that's not real communism. This Cuba thing seems like a distraction from Haiti. Yeah, I haven't even I've still got the bookmark for the Haiti thing too, and I haven't looked at it yet. To look in to see what I could find out about it. By the way, the customary greetings are hello, good morning, or something similar. I guess Inverse Impact feels bad for AOC Biscuit. I don't know why. She kind of made her own bed. MK Ultra says, I feel the same way. She's been brainwashed and is likely a nice person. Welcome in, MK Ultra. Let's see. How many BLM supporters have left America to escape America's oppressive government? 0. It's not about black people either. Let's see. MK says BLM got their hands in South Africa. Shit's going down. Yeah, they are. People trying to explain to me how great and prosperous China is. Meanwhile, China calling in an HDI worse than Mexico. Going back to what Inverse said earlier, I don't have emotes just because I don't know how to make them. I'm not opposed to having them, I just don't know how to do it. And I work like 80 hours a week, so I haven't had a chance to sit down and figure it out. If somebody wants to come down and figure out the emote system and make me emotes, they will be welcomed and they will be featured. So touch base with me. You can find me on the Twitter or on the Discord. And yeah, we can do that. We can definitely do emotes. Absolutely. If that's what you guys want. And I would rather have them fan-made anyway, because they'll probably be higher quality than anything that I can make. They'll probably look better. They'll probably be better. And then the fans have an opportunity to become a part of the channel too. I always like that. This is the people's show. So if you guys want to put some stuff in, then we'll put some stuff in. Katie Z is here, stopping in to say good morning. MK Ultra, apparently I'm scaring the shit out of MK Ultra. Quest Banning says, many who voted for Democrats did so over disliking Trump's personality, not like a Dem policy, more like Dems do it. What are you saying here, Quest Fanning? Many who voted for Democrats did so over disliking Trump's personality, not a like of Dem policy. The more Dems do to push their policies, the worse they'll do in the midterm elections. What are Democrats offering? Ways to strengthen the economy? No. Healthcare transparency? No. Endless wars? Yes. Yes, that's all true. Sounds peaceful. Quest Fanning says, I like Pinko Pox better than Kami Coup. Yeah, I stole that from Razor Fist. I'm not going to lie. Still funny, though. Hospitals were not overwhelmed. End of story. Yeah, that's true. What am I missing? Where did Pinko Pox come from? That's something I took from Razor Fist. The Pinko fucking Pox! Because he likes to use alliteration so much. MK is stealing that, and that's going to be it for the day. Let's throw some music up. Let's get out of here. Where's my music? Where's my music? You guys can see my desktop. Oh no! There it is. All right. So that's it for the week here. I wanted to do one I might still do one. Watch the Discord and the Twitter for updates, but I might still do one just because it's been a while since I've done one. And I do want to say thank you to you guys who still hung out in the live chat with me while I was gone and stuck with me as I was out doing some fishing. So yeah, that could possibly be happening here coming up in the near future. But otherwise, definitely we'll be back here on Monday for more contemporary. And Monday night, it looks like I will be. Is it Nina Bruno? I can't check my text messages because we're on Instagram right now. But a gubernatorial candidate for Oklahoma is going to be sitting in for Elaine on Monday night for the Red Net show. So Natalie Bruno, that's it. That's Natalie Bruno. So come and hang out with that. I love having candidates on because I don't let them give their canned candidate speeches. I sit down and say, here are the issues that are going on in the news. How would you deal with them? So that's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Her press secretary is really cool, Will Doherty. He might actually be coming on the channel at some point too in the near future too. So let's sit back and watch for that as well. That's going to be a great time. But come back and join me on Monday for either one of those shows. And until then, unless we see each other on Saturday, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.